we're on the home page and we've just created a list here at the bottom just below our carousel of restaurants in their respective categories. Now right now it's not showing us correct data because it's all, well, first off, it all says Italian, and just below it it's not Italian restaurants, it's just the first 5 restaurants that were created. So let's fix this. We'll go into our text editor, and the first thing that we'll need to do is go into our restaurants controller, and we'll say Italian restaurants, create a new variable, restaurant where category ID equals whatever the Italian category ID is. So if we go into our Rails console and do category.all, let's go look for Italian, and we'll see that the Italian category has an ID of 6. Alright, and here I'm going to say American restaurants. You can choose whatever categories you want to show on the home page. But I'm just going to choose American. Category ID of 1, I believe. So category ID 1. And let's choose, let's choose Indian. There's another I in there. Let's choose Greek. Greek restaurants equals restaurant where category ID is 4. Great, and I'll save it. And we have to change our variable on our home page. So instead of restaurants limit 5, and this being Italian, we want to say Italian restaurants. That's the variable right here that we just created. And here we'll say Greek restaurants. And down below we'll set the other one American. American restaurants. Now we save it, go to our home page, and if we do a refresh, we'll see that this has worked for us. So that this here, these are all Italian restaurants, these are all Greek restaurants, these are all American restaurants. If we click in them, it'll actually take you to that restaurant. So it works. Fantastic. Now what we want to do next is make this continue link functional. So right now it doesn't point us to anything. So let's go back to our index page here and change that. So you'll see that this is where it's at. And actually before we do this, let's talk about what we want to actually do. So if we click on continue right here, we essentially want it to do the same thing that clicking a search here does, right? So if you're on American and you click continue, show us all American restaurants. Just like our search here, if you click on search, it'll only give you American restaurants, right? So let's do something similar here, where if you click on the continue button, it'll take you to a page that only has the American restaurants, or if you click over here, it'll only show you the Greek ones. So let's do that. So we go into our text editor here and go back into our home page. What we can do is, in this continue link, is make it a different link to go to a separate page. Now, what page do we want it to be? Well, first off, what we can do is go into our routes file, and in here let's match and say American and pages American via get. So we're creating another path here. So now if we go to our pages controller, define American, and in here what we want it to be is at American restaurants equals restaurant where category ID equals 1. And so what we can do is, this being American, is we can change the link and link it to that page. So instead of this being here, say link to continue, and we still want the REQO for the quotes. We need to put it in there, make it HTML safe so that it knows to do this right here. So when you put in HTML safe, what it does is it makes it so that right here, this being an HTML, the way it interprets this, it puts it into quotes. So you need to put this HTML safe method in here to make it do that. And so when you go into our American path, you'll see here what we created. Let's exit out of here. So let's take a look first. Rake routes. If we go down at the bottom, we have an American path because we just created that in our routes folder, our routes file right here. And then we can get rid of this top one here. Save it. Do a refresh. Now if we click on continue here, it'll tell us that we don't have an American template. There's no view file for that. So let's go here, views, pages, American.html.erb, do refresh, there you go. Now how do we want this to show? I think what we can do is just grab our search HTML template right here, or not template, but our page here, and have it be the same layout. So I'm just going to Control All, Command All, copy, paste, and anywhere it says restaurants, I want it to show American restaurants. Do refresh. There you go. It works for us. Now let's do that for the other categories, Italian and Greek. So same thing here. Go into our routes. Just do a copy, paste, Italian. This has to go over one. Same with this. Greek. Line these up. Save it. In our home page here, and actually we can just take this here and copy it. Go over, paste it, and what is this? The Greek path. Up top here is our Italian path. And our pages controller, we need to have this be Greek. Create another one called Italian. So say Greek restaurants. Close restaurant. Or category ID. And what was that? Excuse me. Actually, just take it from here. Pages. And Italian. Good. And then for our pages here, we need to create our Greek, actually just HTML ERB, Italian, ERB, and just as we did for, where did it go? Our American, Control All, copy, oh, close it, that's fine. So instead of American restaurants, we want it to be Italian. Copy, paste it, go into our Greek, instead of Italian, Greek. Alright, so let's cross our fingers, hopefully that all worked. But essentially, what we did was change all of these continue links to be taking us to a different page. So if we click on it, Now we only see our Italian restaurants. Click on Greek, it only shows us our Greek restaurants. And we've already seen the American one, so we know that works. So there you have it. We've essentially just created new paths in our routes folder here, our routes file, and on our pages controller, doing very similar to what we did in our restaurants controller. It was defining these variables and grabbing their categories so that when we go to our pages here, we can just call that variable, and with each of those, it'll take us to a link to a page of only those categories. Alright, so it looks like our homepage is coming together pretty well here. In our next videos, what I want to do is, and it could be very complicated, but it'll be fantastic, is to not show us every single restaurant, only show us the restaurants that are within our general vicinity. So grab our current latitude and longitude and only show us the restaurants that are within 20-25 miles of us. So instead of showing us, I believe, this Euro truck, which is in San Jose, California, I'm in Minnesota, so I don't care about that. I only want to see the restaurants that are in Minnesota or within 20 miles of my current location. So we'll do that in the next video.